we expected to win it. We got the same pressure as every team that's in this. It all comes down to who's the last team standing, and that's just the pressure every team goes through. It's no different than how we're approaching this. We want to be the last team standing, regardless of however many games it take or how tough the road is. Fact of the matter is, man, we want to be the last one standing. So we got to be better for game 2, and I plan on this team bouncing back.
All right, Chris Broussard, how do you think Clippers fans should feel after they watch that first game? Totally fine and confident, slightly concerned, or sheer panic mode? If you're a Clippers fan this morning, how you feeling?
Well, Jenna, first, let me start here. I'm glad they're no longer Broussard's Clippers, and now they're Brandon's Clippers. Yes. All right, that's number one.
I specifically didn't do that.
I
specifically did not call them your Clippers.
No, they right. I think somewhere between slightly concerned and panic mode. I would say very concerned. This was bad. When the Clippers signed Kawhi a couple years ago, they thought they had signed a guy that would be the best player in every series they were going to play. It may be except for, because remember, a couple years ago, coming off the championship, a lot of people thought he might be the best player in the world. So they thought maybe we won't have the best guy against LeBron or KD, but we might. And instead, they're in 3 playoff series now. This is their 3rd. He has not been the best guy in one of them. Luka Doncic outplayed Kawhi and Paul George. Luka Doncic is better. And they tried everything. Yep. They switched everything. They put several players on him. They double-teamed him. And Luka just schooled him just like he did last year in the first round of the playoffs. And Kawhi Leonard is 29 years old. He should be right in his prime. He's a 6-time all-defensive player. It bothers me that Kawhi is not guarding Luka more. And I get that they're running pick and roll and getting the switch and Luka gets someone else on him. But Kawhi needs to go to Ty Lue and say, I want Luka. And you got to fight over the screens at some point, too.
My goodness.
And say, I want Luka. And again, you'll get switched off here and there, but you should be the primary defender on Luka. And the fact that Kawhi apparently hasn't done that is bothersome. So that's the first thing. Secondly, clutch time. Clutch time. They were up by 3 with 6.5 minutes left. They get outscored 18-5 down the stretch. They shoot 2 for 12, 0 for 7 from 3, and get this, 1 for 4 from the foul line. That's called a choke. And this has been their problem all year. Right. I thought Rondo would go a long way in solving it. That's a lot to ask of Rondo, but he wasn't able to solve it yesterday. Yeah, he played well, but he couldn't solve their clutch problems. They degenerated again in the one-on-one ISO, and that's what they've done all year. Of the top 6 teams in each conference that made the playoffs, the Clippers were the worst in the clutch all season. Now they're looking like they got their hands full just to get to the second round.
Everything Broussard said's correct. And what do these 12 teams all have in common? Let me read the list real quick. The Bucks, the Blazers, the Mavs, the Nets, the Sixers, the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Hawks, the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Heat, and the Los Angeles Lakers. That's 12 teams. It's almost half the league. What do they all have in common? They have all won a playoff game more recently than the LA Clippers. Oh, the city's ours, the new king of L.A. Oh, until the young prince Luka Doncic comes and starts a coup. And Clippers, you did this to yourselves. All you had to do to avoid Luka in round 1 was beat Oklahoma City. You still would have been able to duck the Lakers in round 1. You'd have gotten Portland, a Portland team you're undefeated against since signing Kawhi. Instead, you signed up for more of the Slovenian torture chamber, and this is what you deserve. And I am very interested. I am obviously, even though I picked the Clippers, I am hoping the Mavs win, not only because I love Luka, but because as a basketball fan, if Luka can average 31, 10, and 10 in 7 games against a team with arguably the best wing defenders in basketball, what the hell is he going to look like against anybody else? There should be no team in basketball better set up to slow down Luka. But they can't do it. Last year they couldn't do it. He was injured. They still couldn't do it.
Of the NBA?
Yes, Brandon, the future face of the NBA. But he's 22. And where Paul George got it wrong was where he said everyone's under the same pressure. No. The Clippers are under more pressure in the first round than any team in the league. If they lose in round one, Brandon, guys are getting traded, guys are getting fired. That's a fact. So they have a unique pressure on them that is specific to them more so than any other team in basketball right now.
Let me balance this conversation out, and hopefully my boy Wilds goes with me. Look, you guys are doing way too much. For you guys to go back to the bubble and talk about, you know, the Clippers, their stats, and who this team was, you can't even go back there. They didn't want to be there. That's why they didn't show well last year, because they didn't want to go. They were the first team that stood up and said, we don't want to be there. So that's why they performed the way they did. This is a different team. Ty Lue came in, totally transformed this locker room, totally transformed this team. You had Kawhi Leonard playing back-to-backs. You had him finally stepping into his leadership. Paul George played well this year. This is nothing but a really good playoff game. So, if anything, the Clippers fans should be feeling disappointed, not panicked. It's not that serious. Luka is the future face of the NBA. Wilds, come on, man. This dude played phenomenal, but last night that was a good game. It was all back and forth from the beginning. The first quarter, the Clippers played terrible. And then they came back in the second quarter and balanced it out. And then the third quarter was just a phenomenal quarter to watch if you were a basketball fan. And yes, you guys are right. In the clutch, which starts around 5 minutes, not 6 minutes, Chris. They didn't show well, the Clippers.
That's all you got?
Oh, well, Brandon.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
If I believe it's like 4 minutes and 30 seconds is clutch.
Yeah. The results should feel a little bit different. So, Broussard, I want to ask you a question about Kawhi on Luka. Because Ty Lue knows that Kawhi is a good defensive player. Chauncey won championship on defense alone. So do you think they know their plan is like, look, if we put Kawhi on Luka exclusively, our offense will fall apart a little bit? Because I want to show you the Kawhi dunk. This is just an insane burst in the amount of energy they have. It just shows like sort of peak athleticism Kawhi. So the question is, all right, if we put you on Luka, we won't get this. We won't get these kind of explosive plays from you. Do you think it's an energy thing that they're trying to conserve Kawhi so he's only playing one side of the ball?
I think that's an interesting point, because this has been the case for the past several years. We've wondered whether it's Kawhi's stamina, whether it's his durability. We've had these concerns. And like I said, he's 29 years old. I shouldn't have to worry about you can't go hard on both ends of the floor. A lot of his great years defensively in San Antonio, he wasn't the guy offensively. Right. You know, he had Duncan and all those guys around him to help offensively. Toronto, you had a lot of other good defenders around you as well. And that was just an odd season. And so I hear you, Wilds, but it's a shame if indeed that's the case, because he's 20. He's not LeBron's age. All right, he's 29 years old, for goodness sake.
And he hadn't played in 9 days. He hadn't played in 9 days. Remember, we're resting him against the Rockets and the Thunder because we just want to be fully healthy. Because we want the guys to be fully healthy while Luka makes them barbecue chicken the entire game. Listen, Brandon is right about how the game went. The problem is this has been the Clippers' story all year and dating back to last postseason. Right. They can't close. They get tight. They can't get the stops they need, and they can't get the buckets they need. And you guys laughed at me when I made this point about the Clippers during the regular season, but I will make it again here. They finished this year the second best high-volume three-point shooting team in NBA history. The second best three-point shooting team in NBA history. And I said, I actually think that's not a good thing, because that is clearly outlier after outlier performance, and in the playoffs, it ain't going to be sustainable. And looky Lou, Marcus Morris. Did you know Marcus Morris was the second best three-point shooter in basketball this year? Only Joe Harris was better. And I think some people were like, wow, Marcus Morris, the modern Klay Thompson. And smart people were like, oh, well, that's not going to last. And in the playoffs, 0 for 6. And all of a sudden, those threes aren't falling, Luka's cooking you, and there has to be real concern, Brandon, in that Clippers locker room saying, why are we even playing them?